v.h.s.x? What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back for another Pyramid Head video. Today we are doing a post commentary to kind of review my gameplay as Pyramid Head. And we're doing it a little bit differently today. We're going aura only. So Nurse is Calling, Gearhead, I'm All Ears, and Lethal Pursuer to just boost up all of our aura readings by 2 extra seconds. So it is a very good, build for me personally. I found it very interesting. It's essentially running perkless if you're going against Distortion. So it is a bit of a challenge. Now I find Gearhead to be pretty good in general. It'll give you information as to where the survivors would probably be. Good M2 fake on my end. We were able to get the down pretty quickly. Depending on the survivor you're up against, it may determine what kind of playstyle they're about when they're using your power, and keeping that in mind is what really can raise up your level with Pyramid Head and in order to get downs a lot more quickly. Now we do go for the pre-fire to see if maybe they're still on the Jenny, but they might have just like kind of ran off. So what I did was I swung at the wall there so I can fall faster, and then because what happens is if you just fall, normally you'll stagger. But if you swing, while you fall or swing through the fall, you'll be fully recovered by the time you land on the ground, which can help you gain an extra hit, depending on if you're up against a survivor that is going to, be dropping down from a height. So, as you can see there, they managed to dodge the hit there, so I thought that was pretty interesting. But we were able to clear out 2 strong pallets, which is really ultimately what we want to do. And I was trying to at least maybe get a 3rd one if possible, I believe. But it seemed like they were the weakling, and we also don't have slowdown. So we can kind of focus in on trying to get the same survivor again. Now, we did put them in the cage before, so obviously we know that they're not going to have any second chance perks. As for down here. Now, I know that they love double backing into me when I use my power. So that's why I've gone ahead and just let it go. I actually shot that time, and it's really to throw them off. Sometimes I'll shoot, sometimes I won't, and then that 50-50 is the strength that I see Pyramid Head having. You may also notice that this is during the event. I do have a couple of gameplays that I did record during the event that I just never got a chance to upload, so I wanted to at least upload them now, upload a few now, especially in this case, to kind of show how I've been playing Pyramid Head, and also so I can review the gameplay, and maybe you, the viewer, can also learn something. So, pretty interesting, to say the least. I think that was a flashbang that went off. I thought that was, I don't remember if I was able to, dodge, if I was trying to turn away, or if it was a silent flashbang, because sometimes it could just be silent, and you just won't know. But in any case, the young Jin has just kind of gone down for the 2nd time. They had their chance and they kind of lost it. So we kind of focused in on this survivor because we kind of had to, because we do, as I've always said, you have to at least get them out of the game by the 3 gen mark, if not 2. Just due to timing, but that's usually the rule of thumb. If you get them out at least by the 3 gen mark, you know that for a fact you're off to the right track. I knew somebody was there, but I just kind of swung, I didn't realize there was a little pocket there that they could kind of stand in. So that was a bit of a bit of an interesting play there. But either way, Gearhead you may not see too often on builds, but I do find it to be one of the better perks. If they hit a good skill check on a generator, you will be able to see their auras for about, I think, 8 seconds. And that's just a single skill check. So, and then they're pretty common, not every single person is going to land a great skill check at all times, so you will be able to get value. And it activates after hitting somebody. So say if you're in the chase and you get the hit, you'll be able to look around and then notice, oh, there they go, there's somebody there on the gen. Now I know which gen to go to once I say got the down and say have pop charged. I can now go to that gen and then use that. Now, I used Gearhead actually in a build with Ghostface. I went with Lethal, Gearhead, Pop, and Nord Hide because it was so focused on having the aura reading around the gen kick Once again, Gearhead I find to be a pretty good perk, and plus it activates pretty frequently, so that means that if they do run distortion, it can be a little more challenging to actually get value from it. Because it has so many chances to activate, it'll start to shred not the pallets, but the tokens passively, I would argue. Now, I would say I'm All Ears is just a staple perk for a Pyramid Head. It really does help out just to kind of figure out what their pathing is or potentially get a shot through the wall. I find Nurses to be probably the least useful out of the perks, but you know, it does get value on very rare occasions. But I've never been a Nurses Calling enjoyer myself. But either way, we're taking a look around here. We figure that we need to find another survivor because we don't have slowdown anyway. We are applying a lot of pressure, and we're trying to get into a chase as soon as possible. I would say that eliminating that survivor early was probably the best play I could have gone for. But now we're in a bit of a stalemate here, in the sense that we need to find a survivor as soon as possible so we can get started into a chase, which Claudette walking there kind of explains a lot as to how I couldn't find anybody for a while. But so what I like to do personally is I like to threaten the pallet with the power, and then I obviously I want them to run into the trail so I can just use the cage. Now, if I don't have any hook perks, like say for example Pain Res or Pop, I will try not to hook at all if I can, to avoid the second chance perks and stuff like that. And I also noticed that I managed to actually find where the person on the cage was. So from here I figured, well, now I'm in a really good position because I know where at least one survivor is, which I believe is by the gen, and they're injured. And then I have a survivor in the cage that I can pretty much defend in this area. Now, if you get too close, about 16 meters, I believe, if you're there for too long, it does actually teleport them away. So what I did was I stayed at the right proximity while keeping an eye on them from the little angle I had here. So as you can see, we can see them there. We stand here to be able to defend the cage and to also defend against any saviors in order to be able to leverage the game even further to our side. Now, in most cases, if I was running like Pop or Pain Res or something like that, I probably wouldn't be having to clear them out. Which I went up to the cage there because I like how it looks. It looks really cool, having a survivor just kind of sitting in there. So that's, I like to admire it. You know, I find it to be pretty cool. But either way, so it's more strategic. Obviously, keep in mind we don't have some regression or slowdown or anything to block the gens, anything like that. Obviously, it's just mainly just aura reading only. So we're just trying to just use what we can, and we play as ruthlessly as we can in order to, you know, win the game ultimately. And that is mainly the goal usually. Both sides want to win. Now, we also kick the gen. I do usually run Nowhere to Hide instead of Nurses Calling, but I did have a challenge to use Nurses, and I wanted to try to get a little bit of value. But normally it would be Nowhere to Hide, Gearhead, Lethal, I'm All Ears. Those are pretty good choices out of the auras. You could also run Floods. Floods is not too bad either. You know, there's a couple of different options. Now here was a really good read on my part. I figured that judging by the pathing, they probably won't double back. And I was able to get the down pretty quickly there. And then from there, it was trying to figure out what the Michaela was. Now, understandably, I probably didn't deep dive the gameplay too much. I figured I played very well. And there wasn't anything too difficult to understand, at least from my perspective looking at the gameplay. I figure everything seems pretty straightforward. I was trying to take a look around and see if I could find where Michaela went, but it seems like she just ran specifically to pick her up. And obviously we didn't want to continue, and then we finally get a shot through the wall there. I took a shot in the dark to try to get a shot with Nurses Calling, which I find pretty interesting. That I finally managed to get value. So what I did was, as you can see here, what I like to do is just drop the trail down, pull it through, leave trail around the rotation, because the trail itself, a lot of the time survivors don't want to actually be in the trail. I think they know that if they end up in the trail, a lot of their perks will be disabled, especially because of the meta now. It's like off the record, decisive, dead hard, deliverance, yada yada. You know, a lot of those perks end up just being disabled because of the fact that, you know, because they're not actually hooked. Which is one of the reasons why I find Pyramid Head to be one of my favorite killers, is to be able to actually, you know, actually enjoy playing the game, usually. Now, obviously, you know, it's not like you need to go after the same survivor every time they're unhooked, but in some cases where you need to, a DS or an off the record or something like that can really change the tide of the battle when you're really close to trying to win, especially on a very tough map. And as you can see, we went up against 2 distortions. So very tricky at the start. There was a DS in there, like there was resilience and stuff like that, and like flashbang. Like there was a lot of perks that we really had to take into account. But now we're jumping into another gameplay. I did end up muting the audio for the gameplay because it just was a mess. And I also wanted to do a review of this, so I don't want to have multiple multiple me's talking. So I want to be able to, you know, explain my thought process for a gameplay without the, you know, hindrance of, you know, audio issues. So obviously we're gonna mute that. And so from here, I was trying to just do the usual, drop the trail down and see what the vibes are. Didn't really seem like I could do that because he just went straight for just a slam down, which is good. We got rid of a resource very quickly at the 5 gen mark. We use our nowhere to hide here so we can see you know, where they're hiding. So we try to pretend like, oh, where are they? And then that's when we start getting all up close and then go for the hit, which is a free hit there. So they seem like they want to go inside for the thing there, the TNL. So what I do is I leave some trail on the window so that if they do vault it, they're going to have to step in it. Which in a lot of cases, as you can see, like she just completely leaves the tile entirely if I drop the trail down. Which it's really one of my favorite aspects of Pyramid Head, that it does provide different options in chase. It completely shuts down a lot of tiles. It even de-incentivizes like survivors from even trying to stay in tiles, and they may go to weaker ones. Now I noticed that the survivor there went and dropped a blast mine on the generator. I did go for the prediction shot there. I believe that was all gearhead, by the way. Like, as you can see there, that was gearhead value immediately. Plus, Lethal Pursuer makes it up to like 10 seconds of war reading, so pretty good. It helps you kind of get an idea what the pathing's going to be. But what I'm doing now is trying to kind of stay within the proximity, because we know that there's going to be at least like 2 other survivors available to jump off the gens to come save. Or they may stay there and let the meter run down. But that's why I decided to go for a chase on Claudette to incentivize them to go for the save. And then now we go for the hit on both of them, which I did actually get the double hit, which is exactly what I was looking for, because it does eliminate the endurance effect when they get unhooked, which is also very helpful when playing a character like Pyramid Head, because they are not exactly the fastest, but they have a lot of strength in the fact that they can, like, you know, no matter what hook state they go for, you can still have an answer for it. Now, Nia decided to jump into a locker there for whatever reason. I figured the best play, at least from my standpoint, I think she should have just left the area entirely. But she jumped into a locker for some reason. I don't know if she was trying to use head on or just assuming I left. But I went ahead and just put them on the hook again. And from here, we have a very powerful position. And what I figured that, judging by the way the gens got done and the spread of the gens, we figure we can probably hold down a 3 gen if we need to. And what I decided to do was start placing down some trails around the like doorways and stuff like that they may take to try to go for the save. Which, even if they don't step in it, they do have to crouch through the trail if they want to get through without getting hit with the judgment. So obviously that does mean that it slows them down quite a bit. We do also get disable in the trail, because the trail is honestly going to be the best thing you want to go for. Just objectively speaking, because it just makes the hook a lot faster, and it eliminates the like DS, off the record, deliverance, like, you know, whatever second chance perks, they all just get like, even Dead Hard, I believe, like doesn't even activate. Like, there's a lot of things that get disabled, which really makes it a lot more enjoyable to actually get into chase. Did go for the flick shot there, but they are kind of like, you could tell by their posture, they are like really staring at me pretty hard. So that's why you want to, be a little bit more patient. And we got the shot there. And then we use our final judgment to give him a good old chop and get him out of the game. And we still have these Sable slugs, so I figured let's go ahead and kick this gen. We can keep her slug for now. Everyone's injured, so no matter if I catch an aura, we will be pretty well off, I would say. But because Nowhere to Hide didn't show me anything and we don't have any gearhead value yet, we're going to start making our way over to the basement where the Sable last was. So now we're trying to figure out where they were, which it turned out they just kind of ran to, like, they kind of crawled up to the corner. Now, I didn't go for the cage here, mainly because I didn't want the Feng Min to remove her trail of her torment. If a survivor who is tormented saves somebody from a cage, it removes the torment from the savior, and obviously it removes the torment, from the person who got uncaged, because obviously they were already caged. So in most cases you want to be able to kind of micromanage a little bit of like who has the trail, and you want to try to use the trail as strategically so you can quickly get hook states out without having to deal with second chance perks, and it makes things a lot faster. Now I knew that we're gonna slam that down, and that's why we just kind of went for the mind game there with the pallet break, so they do just kind of like give up. And then we cage them just for a quick cage, because keep in mind, the animation to just cage off the bat after they're down is probably the fastest thing you can do. And now we have some aura reading with gearhead and something like that, I believe. No, it was actually the event showing us the aura reading, so that was actually pretty good. Which either way, we were able to down Feng Min once again. So this is just why I find Pyramid Head to be so fun to play and so powerful, especially when you begin to master him, or at least begin to get better with Pyramid Head, is the fact that you're able to really just shred through a couple of hook states very, very fast. This Feng Min went ahead and got downed, and then immediately got downed right after getting saved, and then that completely applies. It applies like so much pressure. Now, we can see that this gen has Blast Mine, which I kind of anticipated anyway because they were applying it before. But we just gone ahead and used Nowhere to Hide. We're trying to act like, oh, where are they? And then we try to drop the trail down, but they're already getting squeamish and running off. Now, what we have to do is just immediately knock them down again. And what we got to go for is yet another cage, just so we can eliminate those options. And what we're trying to do is ultimately, keep cycling people through hook states, constantly trying to, ultimately keep everybody off the gen, because it is one gen and we don't have slowdown, right? But we have aura. So we're trying to do, splitting the pressure, trying to constantly get them off the gens, and they're all injured anyway. So no matter who goes down, they're still going to get hooked. And I think one or two of them are already on death hook anyway. So ultimately, we're trying to shoot for at least a 3, maybe a 4. Now the thing is, you really have to be mindful of where you're chasing, because obviously, you don't want to have to go through that process. Now, of course, they're flying around trying to use the chemical trap. I just figured I would just break it remotely and just try to rotate back around. Now, what I should have done was break that pallet and then left to go check on the gen. Because I did want to at least get it down very quickly, because I figured they were on death hook anyway. But I also figured that, which I feel like I got robbed there, actually, looking at the gameplay. They did some sway, did some nonsense, and it just didn't get me the down, even though I swung early. But some things, and I also kind of noticed there's a bit of some I don't know if that was a frame drop or some kind of lag, so maybe that could have been the case. But we got, as you can see, the gen is pretty much 99, so I probably should have left that chase a lot sooner. But I also had assumed that they were on death hook. So I figured that usually when you're in a stalemate like this, when it's you kind of have to get it down and you have to get that kill, especially to start leveraging the game, you do have to keep in mind, what gen do they want. Now, Shaq is still Shaq, even without... even without like a free, even without the pallet there and everything like that, it's still going to be a very strong area to patrol, a very strong area that even without the pallet, they still have like at least 4 different check spots, maybe even 5. Like they still have a lot of options with that window. They still can vault 3 times without it being blocked. And some survivors can still play it well. So even without the pallet, it does reduce the strength, but it's still a very strong tile in general. Now, we're in a bit of a, as you can see, we're kind of going back and forth. We want the gen to go down just a smidge. Like, that's mainly what we want. We want it to go down just a little bit more to buy me more time. But unfortunately, obviously, because we don't have regression, we can't, like, really, reduce the progress substantially. But we have to, use a kick and just let it try to go down a bit, go back and forth to try to bait them to kind of see which, see who's going to overstep. Which is mainly the strategy I was utilizing here, because we couldn't completely commit to the chase, because we will end up with a 2K. So what we try to do here, as you can see, they just overstepped. Like, that's exactly the type of mistake we needed. We used Final Judgment to completely eliminate them without having to even use a hook. And then because of that, we can now rotate back in for the gen, which we have to check on this gen. We say, okay, it's still regressing. They're probably on the other 2 gens, either by main or over there. And everybody's injured, right? So now we see somebody there. I figure, yep, and we see the other one. We got information. We're going to try to kick both. This other gen is almost 99. So we use nowhere to hide, go toward main, right? And then we're going to look around and see if there's another survivor around. We use nowhere to hide again, but of course, blast mine exists. So that's an extra 20,000 years of blindness before we actually are able to see again, obviously. Now we saw them stepping into the trail there, so I figured that what I can try to do is just stay within the 3 gen here. Like I've said before, there's going to be a moment where they overstep, because it's inevitable, right? And the idea is really figuring out when that moment is and being able to capitalize off of that thing. Regardless of how perfect the team can play, there will be a moment where you can really capitalize that you just have to be aware of. Now, in this moment here, we saw that they got down, and I think the other one was pretty salty about it, so we just Final Judgment the Feng Min, and then we just go ahead and give them a hook as well. So that is the gameplays for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys learned something about Pyramid Head. They did spawn the hatch right next to them too. And hopefully you guys will stay tuned for more Pyramid Head content, like Ghostface as well. That's one of my other mains. And other killers like that. If you want to support the channel, check the description for ways to support. Yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.